Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Jay. I'm a first-year medical student, and today I want to talk to you all about the imposter syndrome. So if you're in med school or in any other sphere of life, I am sure that you have heard of the imposter syndrome. So today I want to share with you a few strategies that I use during medical school to make sure that I never suffer from imposter syndrome. And I also want to talk about how COVID actually has helped to kill the imposter syndrome for me. Now first, let's start talking about what imposter syndrome actually is. There's many definitions out there, but basically it means like you feel less than, you feel like you don't belong there, like you're not accomplished enough, like you are less than those around you and you're not capable of everything that others can do. So here, let's tackle the imposter syndrome and make sure that you never suffer from this again. Oh my God, she got a 95% on the test. I only got 78%. He's working on 10 research projects right now. I don't even have one. Where do I even start? The other day, a doctor asked me the simplest question and I just could not think of the answer. I really feel like this dumbest person in this class. How did I even get accepted? I don't even know. These thoughts are constantly running through our minds, whether we're students, whether we're doctors, whether we're residents, whether we're in journalism. We always have these thoughts that question our abilities, whether we are capable, whether we're deserving, whether we should be here, whether we're surrounded by much smarter people than ourselves. But that's the thing. If I'm thinking about myself as an imposter, I sit and think, well, probably he's thinking that he's an imposter, and maybe she's thinking that she's an imposter too. So if everyone around you is thinking about themselves and perceiving themselves as imposters, then doesn't that mean we're all imposters? And if we're all imposters, then how can anybody be an imposter? So I think the key here is to reframe the way that we think. So first, realize that you are sitting there thinking about yourself as an imposter. You're not really focusing about Betty or Jack or everybody else and reflecting on their abilities. It's more so you reflecting on your own abilities and thinking that you're an imposter. So the key is that we are all focused on ourselves. We're not really thinking about others. So because we're so focused on ourselves, we don't realize that nobody else around us really cares. It doesn't really matter because we all think we're imposters. So none of us are imposters because we're all the same. Now, I think COVID has brought something positive in my life specifically when it comes to imposter syndrome, and that is simply the fact that I don't see my classmates that often. I don't get to hear about what grades they get, how much research they're doing, because I don't see them. I'm constantly alone at home studying in my little bubble or only studying with a few friends, and that is actually super helpful. Normally, when we would have class in person, we would take a test, everybody would get their grades, you would get it on a piece of paper, and then maybe a classmate would sneak a peek and they would see your grade, or maybe you would share with the people around you, and that is what started creating this comparison, this world where we're constantly striving to compare ourselves to others and trying to achieve what they're achieving. So I think that in this sense, COVID has done me well because I don't see my classmates' grades. I don't know how many research projects they're on, so I don't compare myself to them. All I'm focused on is myself, my passions, my goals, my own grades and successes and failures, and just trying to work to improve myself rather than comparing myself and trying to compete with somebody else. So COVID is actually reducing some of our imposter syndrome. Now, the imposter syndrome is something that is ongoing, at least for me. I mostly don't feel it, but at times I do feel it, right? When somebody I overhear got 100% on a test and I only got an 80%, or somebody is doing 10 research projects or getting a publication or has some cool connection and is going to do some cool research opportunity in the summer, I tend to get this sense of like, oh, I must be behind. I need to catch up. I'm an imposter. But the important thing is that I catch myself. I sit there, I reflect, and I realize that I am feeling like an imposter. And the one best thing that I can do is I can catch that thought, catch myself, and stop it. Cut it off, and basically reframe my mind and tell myself, why am I comparing myself to somebody else in this one dimension? I'm only comparing our grades. But think about this. I'm not comparing the fact that maybe I'm working part-time In addition to medical school, I'm having to study. I'm also balancing my family or my relationship, or maybe I'm sick and I just can't keep up with all the studying and get 100% like somebody else who might have more time to dedicate to studying. So it's important that we sit down and we think, don't compare just this one direction, just this one point of contact between you and another person, but rather reflect on the fact that you have so many other things going on for you that are good that it doesn't matter. Just focus on your passions, catch yourself in that moment, and cut that bad thought out. And I'm gonna go back to one of the most important things I think that I recently listened to in a podcast called the Happiness Lab podcast. Maybe some of you have heard of it. It's one of my favorites. But in this podcast, we listened to Michelle Kwan, who was an Olympic figure skater. And during one of her Olympic competitions, she ended up getting a silver medal instead of the gold first place. And with that silver medal, she was extremely bitter and disappointed and more frustrated than any sort of happiness could ever bring her. And I sit there and I myself wonder from an outsider perspective, why was she so upset? I mean, she received the silver medal in the Olympics. That means that she is basically one of the best, if not the best, figure skaters in the entire world. Yet she's upset. But what she doesn't realize is the fact that she is, in fact, at the Olympics when so many other figure skaters out there have not even made it to the Olympics. And that she, in fact, has just received the silver medal, meaning she is the second best figure skater in the entire world. And that's our problem. Instead of comparing ourselves to the entire world, we compare ourselves to our point of reference. So instead of comparing myself to every other person or the average person out there, I start to compare myself only to those around me in my immediate circle. I don't realize that I've been through so much. I've put in so much hard work. I've taken the MCAT. I have done my undergrad studies. I have done so much research, so much volunteering. I have gotten publications. I have done clinical shadowing, and I am here today with all of these other people that have also gotten to the same point. And we are all deserving. So all we have to do is stop comparing ourselves to those immediately around us. Reframe your perspective and think about all of the people in the entire world, how lucky you are and how accomplished you are to be in the position that you are today. No matter where you are, whether you're studying, whether you're a physician, whether you are a business person, it doesn't matter. You have accomplished something. You have gotten somewhere. And all you should care about is your passions, because that's what's going to make you the happiest. Never feel like an imposter. In order to grow, you have to be surrounded by uncomfortable situations. You have to be surrounded by people that know more than you, because you have to learn from them. If you presume that you are going to be the most intelligent or the most successful person in the world, then who are you going to learn from in order to grow? So if you've taken anything away from this video, I would say, 1, put yourself in a box. Don't look at other people's grades. Don't ask how they're doing. Celebrate their successes, but don't overload yourself with comparisons of grades and publications and honors and awards, because all that matters is that you're pursuing something you're passionate about. If you start feeling yourself getting agitated or starting to compare or feeling like an imposter, then just stop that thought and throw it out into the trash can. And finally, don't forget to frame your perspective. Remember that the people that are surrounding you are probably not the average person, and think how lucky you are to be where you are today compared to everybody else in the world.